Shalom. Call Allah, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Waharakak Shalom to the Israel of God, starting with the hopeful elect men that are out teaching and preaching the gospel, continuing in the faith, namely the elder apostles over the Great Millstone Church, on down to all the men who are teaching the same doctrine that they are, which is the true doctrine of the scriptures. Shalom to all you Israelites that are out there who have repented, have come back to the truth, to the words of life, which are these scriptures, and are continuing and enduring in this world, seeking the kingdom of heaven, which is to come. So we'll kick it off here in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 1. And this reads, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. So yeah, we're supposed to be stand upon our watch. Our watch is ultimately watching for these scriptures to come to pass, watching for prophecy to come to pass, knowing that these scriptures are what's true, knowing these scriptures are what's going to ultimately be the only reality that plays out here on this earth. So we've been given, the playbook of things to come. So we're supposed to be diligently measuring the time, and that's a scripture we can get real quick in the book of Second Ezra chapter 9, and verse 1. It reads, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand. That is the very same time wherein eyes will begin to visit the world which he made. So yeah, we're supposed to be measuring the time diligently in itself. We're supposed to be paying attention to the times that are past, but ultimately to the prophecies that are going forth to happen, so we can understand the timing that we are in. Again, we understand that the words of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai are what's going to, be, is what's true. So it's what we are measuring our times with. It's the measuring stick. And every time we see something happen here on this earth, we know we coming closer and closer to the time of our Lord's return. And it's made clear when you truly, are paying attention, because we understand these things are happening in the right now as we speak, although they're not in the fullness. They're not fully kicking off. We're watching, the rounding up of our people. We're seeing these ice raids. We're seeing the rumors of wars. We're seeing the uproars of the people just amongst the earth. We're seeing these nations coming against themselves. We're seeing glimpses of all the things that are happening already, which we understand is going to culminate to the complete time of all these things, the times of Jacob's trouble, when we're, on this earth, moving more over like pilgrims, even though we sort of take on that nature now, because the times that are to come are going to be like never before, things that we've never experienced. So it's going to completely ramp up. But again, 2nd Ezra 9:1, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. So pay attention and be diligently doing so, knowing that it's important for you to know what's going on. And it's important, moreover, for us to stay in the mindset of the times we're in, regardless how things may seem to, the flesh, and moreover, worldly people, because they're going to continue in their ways as if, the world isn't ended. So we have to stay in the mindset of understanding that that's not true, and stay in the spirit and know that the Lord is not a man that he shall lie, but, he's going to continue to bring forth. And we want to be continuing to be prepared for the things that are to come. And when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee. So we're just seeing portions of things that are going to come into full fruition. It says, then shalt thou understand, which you should understand already, because we know the Lord not a man that he shall lie, that this thing is real. These words are true. This book is real. That is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of thee of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. So that's why we can reach back and read Habakkuk and understand that his very words are still something we should hold on to, something we should believe and hold true to, stand in and watch, right? Verse 5, it says, for like as all that is made in the world hath the beginning and the end, and the end is manifest. So yeah, the end is manifest. The end is apparent. We are at the end of the so-called white man's world, and we can see it crumbling right before our eyes. Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 3, and that's what's going on in the time of Habakkuk. He was a prophet in the time of the Babylonians, but we understand that we're in current Babylon. Those of us who are in America, this is the daughter of Babylon, This is Egypt 2.0, Rome 2.0, spiritual Sodom and Gomorrah, So we're in these places on an updated level. So the very things that happen in the past are the very things that we're going to see happen today. And that's why these scriptures, they hold so true. Because the Lord, he's the same today. He's the same, yesterday and then tomorrow and forevermore. So he doesn't change. When the proud gets boasted up and they exalt themselves, the Lord is always there to, put them down. So we know that the Lord and his words, hold true. So that's what we are always to be seeking. Habakkuk 2 and 1, once again, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower and will watch to see what he will say unto me and what I shall answer when I am reproved. Verse 2, and the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it. So yeah, these scriptures are to be taken and to be ultimately made clear and translated. So we read these scriptures, we're supposed to be able to point out what's going on within the times and make it clear, because it is clear. So those who are listening to us, those who are dependent on us, and even ourselves can run when we read it, meaning we take heed and we can hold on to it and believe in it and put ourselves in position to fare well according to the things that are happening, right? Again, the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables. Yeah, those tables ultimately will be, our minds. I want to get this real quick. So let me come to Proverbs chapter 3. In verse 3, it says, let not mercy and truth forsake thee. So yeah, we are not supposed to let mercy and truth forsake us, because we need mercy. We need the mercy of the Lord for us to be able to endure in everything that's going to happen here on this earth, right? Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. And the truth is, believing this book, knowing that it's the only reality, and knowing that we have to seek out of it to stay in good estate so we can receive the kingdom, receive that salvation, get on those ships, and not be part of the destruction that's coming here. It says, bind them about thy neck, write them upon the table of thine heart. The heart is in mind. So we're supposed to have these things inscribed within our minds. We're supposed to remember these things. We're supposed to know these things. We're supposed to believe these things. See, write them upon the table of thine heart. So we come back to Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 2. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it. Yeah. And we're supposed to take these words in and understand them and keep it with us. So we can continue once again. Verse 3, it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, right? These scriptures, these words, they're for appointed times. They're going to happen, regardless, once again, what people want to say, what they want to believe, and what they got to say. It's thus said, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and that's it. But at the end, it shall speak and not lie. The end of what? The end of the world. When these things come to true, it's just apparent. You know, are people literally getting rounded up right now? It's a bunch of just, you know, small catastrophes happen that should just make these scriptures plain. You know, we're hearing about uproars of people in the world. We're seeing earthquakes hit crazy places, but we're seeing these events pop off, you know, slowly but surely. So what manner of, person you ought to be in these times? For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak. It's going to be clear and not lie. It's not going to lie. Again, truth. Don't forsake mercy and truth. It says, though it tarry, wait for it. So yeah, for many it's tarrying, but the Lord is not slack concerning his promise. So it seems like for many that, these dudes, they've been, saying these things are going to happen. We go out, we hit the highways and hedges, we do our sit downs, we do videos throughout the week. And, for, those who are lost, it may seem like nothing's happening, but for us, it's completely clear. And it's because we're in two completely different worlds. The Lord is allowing us to see his words come to true. And for them, it's like, when is it going to happen? But you can't be in that mindset because it already is happening. That's a good one real quick. It's Sirach chapter 19. And 1. It says, a laboring man that is given to drunkenness shall not be rich. And he that contemneth small things shall fall little by little. So yeah, these people, they fall little by little because they're seeing, these little small, if you will, events happen. Because they're not really small, but they seem small to some, But those men who look at these things as if it's nothing, they're falling little by little. Because, they round up a few jakes. Yeah, a few little events happen. It's all right, so on and so forth. You hear the rumors of wars, but it ain't really, they over there just fighting amongst each other. But all these things are just signs of the times we're in. So yeah, he that contemns small things shall fall little by little. So it's this belief ultimately is going to add up to the downfall. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. That's back to Habakkuk 2 and 3. For the vision is pointed for For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak. It's going to be clear at the end. So you want to be clear right now because the end is, it's manifest. It's coming. You see, and it says, and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it because it will surely come. It will not tarry. So when it comes, it's going to happen like that, and people's worlds are going to be turned upside down. So we got to stay, as it's about to say here in verse 4, behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him. It's talking about, the rulers, the people that's up right now, the so-called white man, ultimately starting with the top, the elites, the people who are ruling and controlling, have the power of the government, have the power of the media, have the power of resources. Those are ultimately the people who are up right now. We can understand it's the so-called white man, but it's the head of them, the elite of them, right? Starting with those Amalekites. Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, that's proud, is not upright in him. But the just shall live by faith. That's my point. The just is going to live by faith. The just is going to live by the faith of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, the belief, the expected end that is to come through the understanding of these scriptures. Us having faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, knowing that his word is going to hold true, that, all that we read is to be believed, and that, we have an expected end, which is to get on those chariots, to be beamed up, to be saved, reaching salvation, right? seeing the Lord come on those ships, seeing the angels, seeing destruction come to the wicked. That's what we believe. So we got to live by faith and know the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai are going to uphold us in these times that are here, but ultimately furthermore to come. So I'm going to read a little bit more because that's my point, but this is all, still beautiful to read. Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 5, it says, yeah, also because he transgressed by wine, these people are drunk, off their own, their own selves, their own supply. He transgressed by wine. He is a proud man. He's lifted up within himself. Neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell, and is his death. It's talking about the so-called white man. He enlarges his desire as hell. That desire goes into his wants, and we know that they are excessive. So they continue and carry on and just try to take everything. They try to reap all the resources of the world. They want to keep anything back. But ultimately they're just setting themselves up for destruction, right? His desire is as hell and is as death, and he cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. Yeah, they want everybody under their control. That's that one world government that they're trying to bring forth. It says, shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Yeah, he takes everything. He just continues in that taking. And that's why he's proud, because he thinks he can do so and there's no recompense to it. Ultimately, he's setting himself up for his own failure, because people aren't going to allow this to go on forever. Even all the other nations. Because remember, the nations are going to rise up against Esau, and they're going to shoot at America because this is his stomping grounds. This is his grand stage for all his iniquity. So America is going to be destroyed off the face of the earth. The nations are going to rise up against Esau and shoot those nukes, and destroy America, which is going to be, the taking away of his power and where many of his resources are, put to work. It says, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be but booties for them. Booties is treasure unto them. Yeah. So America is going to be spoiled. It says, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land of the city and all of that dwell therein. So yeah, it's going to be a major recompense that comes to these people through America being destroyed. And all these nations are going to rejoice, but ultimately we're going to end up at the top. The Israelites, so-called black people, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American, Indian people scattered amongst the earth. Because this is ultimately all happening for our favor. Because when the so-called white man goes down, we're going to be the rulers. There's no heathens that's going to rule over us. They're going to fall in line ultimately. Woe to him that coveteth in evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high. Right? The high-minded stuff, that nest, these places they have set up, in space, space stations, and, because they searching and they looking for the Lord. And they know he's to come, but they too proud to admit it to the people. So they continue in their lives. It says that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and hast sinned against thy soul. So yeah, they consulted shame to their house. They're setting themselves up for further destruction. It's that simple. It says, for the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer it. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood and established a city by iniquity. You can keep on going within this chapter, but simply Babylon is set up for destruction. The just are going to live by faith. We're going to believe in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. We understand that these words are going to hold true, so we are to stand upon our watch and to be prepared for the times that are to come. And we're supposed to continue in this word, continue pushing the faith, continue edifying our people, continue warning our people of the times that are coming, warning ourselves and knowing what we are to be standing upon, So So again, Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 1, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower and will watch to see what he will say unto me and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord answered and said unto me, write the vision and make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it. Right? So that's part of our job, our duty. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. But at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. So these words are true and they're gonna happen. So be prepared. Stay awake. Don't go to sleep out here. Arise and depart, for this is not your slumber. We got much work to do. Verse 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up, and him is not upright. And that's why the so-called white man has to fall, because he's not upright. He's lifted up, he's proud, but he's in the perfect position to be laid down. It says, but the just shall live by faith, and we know that. So we got to continue in faith. We got to continue in our belief and understanding that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is going to prevail. And, we want to stay intact in that thought, in those beliefs, because it's what's going to be our our comfort in a time of much destruction. So, I'm just going to say, Lord willing, this was something useful, edifying to the nation, exhorting and, comforting. But with that, I'm just going to say till next time, Shalom.